Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another painting stream. Hi there, I'm Andrew, also known as Thanatos in the internet, and this is my stream where, for the past month or so, I guess, I've been painting on stream in mornings from 10 a.m. to noon, and it's been a week. A lot has gone on this week, and I missed a stream yesterday, obviously, because Amanda and I went to pick up her new car, and that was really exciting. Man, I can't believe we did this. So, a few weeks back, I made it my goal to take my COVID relief funds and use it to convert my old, dying, like 13-year-old car into something that actually runs. Because I was very much at a stage where every time I drove that car, I thought that it was going to break down. And I drove it daily to and from work. So, we went to the dealership. We found a used car. We used my old car as trade-in value. It didn't really have any value because it was effectively dead. And we got me a working car, which is awesome. And I've been driving it, and it works fine. It's got just under 50,000 miles on it. It's a perfectly good car. Then Amanda decided, since her old car was only 1 year older than my current old car, whatever, she decided that she would like to see if she can get into something newer for herself. So we went through the whole process a second time and got a lot more trade-in value for her car because it actually runs, or still runs. It's just not hers anymore. And we got her a brand new car. We're leasing. It's the first time we've ever leased in our lives, and it's also the first time we've ever actually had a brand new car. So it's really exciting. But it took a while to do all the paperwork yesterday. So I missed yesterday's stream. I hope that's the last daily stream I'm going to miss for a little while. We do still need to get both of our cars inspected. Because the inspection system has been down in Massachusetts and several other states for a while now. And we want to get those inspections done before the end of the month. Actually, we have to get them done before the end of the month. So we're going to have to take our cars in and get them inspected at some point. It'll probably take a little while. We would have done it yesterday, but there was a 1 hour wait. So, yeah. Anyways. My point is, I've missed a few streams in the last couple of weeks, and I'm trying to get back on track and do these more regularly because we're actually making a significant amount of progress in all of this terrain. So you've probably, if you've been watching, you've seen that we've gone from just completely bare plastic on this piece a couple weeks ago to almost completely done. We're going to finish it tomorrow for Finishing Friday, but I need to get a wash onto it, and I'm really nervous about this. Let's go to overhead cam. I'm really nervous about this because we have had some issues with washes in the past. You will probably recall, if you've been watching me for a while now, that I did a wash 2 weeks ago on one of the large pieces of terrain for this Warcry set that I'm doing washes on, or finishing on. And it came out looking very shiny, very glossy. You can see it there, glistening. It's not at all what I intended for this piece. And I still have to do something to recover from that. And it set me back on my heels. It definitely made me feel less good about the progress I had made. Like, this piece is gorgeous, and I'm really happy with the painting job that I did on it up until the wash, and then the wash just, I'm not happy with it. Anyways, I want to avoid that same issue on this piece, the bell tower. So there's a lot of fun detail on this that won't show up. Like right now, this is just plain white, plain brown, very monochrome, not a lot of detail on it. When I do a wash properly, if I can actually get it to work, it'll get into the cracks and crevices that are molded in here, and there's actually quite a lot of detail molded into this, and it should bring those details out. That's sort of what the wash is intended to do. I don't want it to make everything look glossy and shiny. So, yeah, we're gonna try and do that today, and I'm very nervous about it. But this is a learning stream. This is a stream all about trying new techniques and learning how to paint. So I am fully prepared for things to be a little bit more challenging, and I want to see what we can do with this. So, oh, coffee. Okay. So the wash that I am using is this Army Painter Quick Shade Dark Tone. It's a very dark brown wash. It's not quite as dark as Nuln Oil. My supply of Nuln Oil is a little low. I should get more of that. It's not just a black, but it's a very dark brown. One of the things that may have been an issue last time was that I had mixed this insufficiently. So, all right, hopefully I can shake this without it exploding, right? The top is not a perfect seal, but it's a pretty good seal. So let's try shaking this and hope that it doesn't spray me with paint. Yeah, we seem to be okay. So we'll shake it up a bunch. All right. Get a good shaking on that. Okay. And then I have this little wooden dowel that Amanda gave me. And we're going to hope that that will allow me to stir this. Oh man, I'm just breaking it. I need a screwdriver. Excuse me a moment, folks. I'm going to go grab a screwdriver. I'll be right back. Sorry, be right back. And I'm back. Okay. Sorry that took... Oh, why? Okay. Just wanted to make sure my audio was coming through. All right. So, yeah. This is better sealed than I actually thought it was, which is fine. Just need a screwdriver to pop it open. Do some mixing, and then we'll apply the wash. So, two factors that may have contributed to how the wash didn't work last time. One, I may have not mixed it sufficiently. So we're trying to do a better job mixing it today, which is why I just did all that shaking. There it goes. All right, here we go. Lovely. Oh man, I remember this. Oh, the paint fumes. All right. Now let's stir it a bunch. Oh yeah. After shaking it It's clearly better mixed than it was last time. Last time when I was stirring it, there was a significant amount of resistance on the bottom of the paint can, which indicated that most of the pigment was down at the bottom. So we gave it a good shake, gave it a good stir. It seems more consistent. You can see how thick this wash is on the dowel there. But I am going to get paint all over myself today, aren't I? That's a danger. All right. So the other factor that may have contributed to how glossy the wash came out was I perhaps used too thick a brush. I'm going to use my Wargamer Regiment brush. It's got a fairly thick tip, but it's not a huge tip. It's not a brush specifically designed for a wash, but it may be a better applicator than the brush I was using the last time I did this, which was a much thicker brush. So my goal is, and you can see, we'll start with these two little planks here. My goal is to get the wash into the grooves, but not so much on the surface. So, and we don't want to go as thick as we went last time. We want that to get just enough to highlight things, but we don't want it all glossy like it came out last time. Can't really tell if this is working because it's still wet. You can see it's a little darker there. It's getting into the grooves a little bit. You can see it there. Just don't want it too thick. So this is the trick. I'm going to try going against the grain to try and get it into the detail. And we really won't know how well this worked until it dries. So this is all very nerve-wracking. Sort of balancing it between being too thick and too thin is what I'm trying to work on here. Also, because it's a thin paint, which is necessary for a wash, and because I'm using this brush that has sort of a fat head, I'm beating some air bubbles into the paint, which I don't really want. And yes, I have successfully painted my hand already. Perfect. Perfect. We're off to a wonderful start today. Excellent, excellent. All right, so there's this plank here with the wash applied, and this plank here without. And you can see this one's darker, but you can also see, hopefully you folks can see it on chat there, on stream, but I can definitely see here that it feels a little more detailed because the wash is bringing out the sculpt. Let's keep going, I guess. I don't want to go too fast because I think that may have also been a contributing factor. Is that I got too enthusiastic, went too fast, and applied the wash too thickly. trying to find that happy medium. Between putting it on too thick, putting it on too thin. Like, it has to do what it's supposed to do. It has to get into those cracks and crevices. But if it goes on too thick, as we saw with that other piece, it comes out looking too fake for my tastes. I don't know if this is working or not. Just have to trust the paint, I guess. Drying a little bit, and it's looking a little better than it did last time. It still looks shiny, but it is getting into the cracks. It is giving the model some detail. It may be this wash just is not right for the application that I'm using it for. Well, this is a learning stream. We're always learning new lessons. So that's okay. Let's test it out on some of this stonework. Let's see what this wash looks like there. I don't know. It is going to make this look dirtier, which is fine, because we kind of want a aged, dirty feel to the terrain. Indeed, when we get to tomorrow, we're going to be adding a lot more dirt and weathering to it. I don't want brush strokes in it though. And this wash is a little bit gummy, a little bit thick. Good though. brush strokes do sort of fade out, because it is very watery. There, it's going on too thick. That's what I was doing on the head that resulted in it looking way too glossy. Just want it in the cracks. We don't want it too thick on the model. I think it's working out okay. Again, I won't know until it dries how well this went. So, very much a certain degree of faith involved here. Is that I apply the wash and then we have to wait until tomorrow to see how it looks. But compare this here with this here, and it just looks more interesting. The wash provides resolution to the piece. These are just very bare, empty areas, and when you get the wash in there, it begins to bring it to life. So I'm cautiously optimistic with this. It seems to be doing what we want it to do. I'm just going to try not to apply it as thickly. I'm not going to go too haphazard with it. Just enough to give some life to the model without making it too thick. That might be too thick right there. Try to wick it away with the brush. Around these little windows here, I want to capture some of the sculpt there. So, yeah. See how that one looks a little more sculpted than that one. We're trying to mitigate the possible factors that might have resulted in the glossy fake look to the other piece. And, I have theorized that part of it could be I put it on too thick, so we're trying to be more judicious in the application. And part of it might have been that the paint was insufficiently mixed, so we're trying to do a better job. We gave it a really good shake at the start to try and give it a little bit, make it better blended. Good afternoon, Novocaine for the Souls. Welcome, welcome. I am, as you can see, oh dear, I am attempting a wash on this bell tower piece. And I've been talking about how the other large terrain piece, the stone head, came out not looking the way that I wanted it to. Came out very glossy and gloppy. So I'm trying to be more judicious in the application of this. I'm trying to be more careful. Just enough to catch the details here without being enough to leave a glossy residue on the model. We'll see how it comes out in the end. They have arrived, but I have not done anything with them yet. But yeah, let's show off my new paints. So Novocaine recommended to me a set of very nice metallic gel-based paints, and here they are, Metal Alchemy, and they are gorgeous. Like this, like iridescent green. I am so looking forward to playing with these paints. So yes, they have arrived, but no, I haven't had a chance to test them out on anything. I'm sort of thinking about what model I could use them on as sort of a test run, just as something that could use that color palette. Dwarven and Elven Gold. I'll have to check out for those. I bought everything that I could find. Alright, so this has been drying for a little bit. You can see it's still kind of glossy-ish, but it's not as bad as the other piece ended up being. So I feel like we're making some progress. This wash is definitely going to help bring this model from just to the next level, if it works. So I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to... I think part of what caused the last wash to go wrong is that I was in such a hurry. I was trying to do the entire piece very quickly because I was on a time crunch that day. I was doing a 1-hour stream instead of a 2-hour stream, and I was like, I just want to get this wash done. That was probably a mistake. So we're hoping that the combination of doing more stirring and shaking of the can before I started, using a smaller brush and applying the wash less thickly to the model. Like, I went pretty thick around there. But that's okay, because I know I'm going to be doing an extra layer to give a sort of rust shade to that piece of metallic there. Just want to catch the edges with the wash. That's what a wash should do, is it should get in the edges, not as much on the flat surfaces of the model. And that's how it does its thing. Yeah, I have to think about some new models to play with, because I do definitely want to play with my new paints. I feel like the iridescence will go well with some of the pieces of this Warcry, some of the models, the actual figures. So I've mentioned before, I have a ton of Warcry figures to work on when I'm done with all this terrain, and I'm really looking forward, if I can get them, to working on these here. And I'm going to be doing some shading and stuff on the wings to highlight the feathers. And I really feel like that's going to be a case where iridescent purple and blue, or purple and green, will really make for an interesting contrast. So that's probably that's probably what I'll be working on when I get a chance to test out my new paints. It's going to probably be a couple of weeks before I do that, although I could take a break from terrain. I've done a lot of terrain. I could take a break from it and work on that. It's just, this doesn't have a lot of detail to capture. Let's do this kind of, just don't want to glob it on too much. Actually, there is some detail in there. That's cool. I like when you're working on something and you don't realize just how much it has sculpted into it until you start putting the wash on. I thought this was just a plain flat surface. It's actually got some cool things that the wash can bring out. Some cool details. It could be that this is just a glossy wash, and that it's just going to look that way. Though I have had even Nuln Oil, which is definitely not a glossy wash, although they make a Nuln Oil gloss. But I have had even Nuln Oil appear glossy when applied too thickly. So we definitely want to be careful not to apply too much to the model. I can go a little bit faster for these underneath and inside surfaces, I feel. They don't need to look as pristine. So you can see when I apply it, I don't know if you folks can see this at this angle, but when I apply it quite thickly, it gives a great contrast. I just worry about it drying too shiny and glossy. That's definitely not what we're looking for here. The instructions I found online for this wash and the recommendation of the manufacturer, they actually say you can dip your whole figure, just dip your figure in this pot and pull it out and it'll have a wash on it. And I'm like, well, okay, that's definitely going to apply it pretty thickly, right? So contrast this that I've done here with this side, and you can definitely see it looks more interesting. And that's what a wash does. Going to look imperfect, but that's kind of the point. You want it to look imperfect. You want it to look weathered and more alive. Brush strokes. Those will fade. Like I said, the wash is very liquid, so the brush strokes and stuff will disappear pretty quickly, I think. One thing about doing a wash, because I'm doing everything in the same tone, well, actually it does a couple of things. One, it makes the model a more cohesive whole, because everything's going to have that same sort of dark brownish, muddy tone to it. So it takes the areas that are high contrast and makes them less contrasty. The other thing that it does, or the other thing about doing the wash, is that because I'm doing everything in the same shade, I don't have to concentrate as hard on not going outside the lines, which is something that I do a lot when I'm painting. I don't even think I need to do it as much as I do it in general. But it's kind of my mode of painting involves trying to do very careful edges and stuff. And when applying a wash, I don't have to do that because it's going to go everywhere eventually. At least that's my plan. So I'm going to do about half of this model with this wash, and then I'm going to take a break and work on some other pieces while it dries, just so that I can pick it up and hold it, because right now these surfaces here are very sticky and wet, and if I were to try and grasp it here so that I could paint that side, I'm going to leave fingerprints in it, and I definitely don't want to do that. You'd have done the bell. So I have a reason that I didn't start on the bell, and that's that I want to sort of dial in on how thickly I want to apply the wash. I want to practice on some areas that are less visible first, because I know I'm still sort of learning how to apply this wash, and I want to get these areas done first and move to the bell later, once I've got a better sense of how the wash works in terms of consistency, in terms of how much I can get on the brush without risking ruining the model. Because if I started with the bell and got it wrong, I'd feel bad. So I'm working my way up to that. Although definitely there's parts of that bell that I'm really hoping the wash helps with. I'm mostly holding the model by the stairs now. Maybe I can do everything except for the stairs right now, and then let it dry and come back and do the stairs last. Cover up my blemishes. Cover up those bits that I'm not as proud of. Oh, wash. Such a fun way to fix areas of the model you're not satisfied with. There's a little bit of gray plastic in here, just sort of in the crevices between surfaces, and this wash is going to get in there and make it less apparent. same applies to the skeletons as applies to the bell. I want to get to the skeletons near to last, and they're also the piece of this model that I think will benefit the most from the wash, just because they have the most cool detail in them, the most cracks and crevices for the wash to get into. Alright, I've been a little heavier in some of these areas with the wash. I'm curious to see as it dries how those areas where I've gone a little bit heavier end up looking. Are they going to end up looking glossy? Maybe. Maybe it won't be as much of an issue. I don't know. Definitely a lot of waiting and seeing is going to be going on here. On these sort of underlying areas, I've gone quite thick with it, and it may end up having that glossy effect here. But maybe, because I did so much shaking and stirring before we started, maybe the paint is better mixed and that glossiness won't be as much of an issue. I don't know. We'll find out together. I do love putting the wash on something that before you start looks like it's just a plain slab, all one color. And as the wash goes on, suddenly that plain slab looks completely different. Obviously, I'm working in shadows and behind things now, so you folks probably can't see it. And these are areas of the model that I just don't care as much about because they are obscured, obviously. They're inside, behind, underneath. All those places that people won't actually look. So I can go a little faster and a little thicker, and if it doesn't look great, that's fine. But I feel like I'm getting used to this wash now. I feel like I'm sort of dialing in on how it works. I don't know. I remember to clean my brush periodically. Contrast again this side with this side. I feel like it's working all right, and this doesn't look as glossy. It does look kind of plastic, but perhaps when I go over it with some highlighting, it'll look less so. Here it does look very shiny, but that could just be because it's still wet. a lot of time in my painting making the model look as clean and sharp as I can. This is both cathartic and nerve-wracking, as now I'm dirtying the whole thing up to make it look more interesting. Thinking about using the metallics on the wings of those creatures is really making me want to work on them next. Maybe next week I'll take a break from terrain. Maybe I'll work on those guys. See how I'm going against the grain here to try and catch the wash into the crevices. That's a little thick there, I think. Don't need it that thick. Wanted to highlight the detail without too heavy. I don't know. Well, I think it's looking okay. No, I don't want to become famous, and you are going to get blocked. Oh, bots. And your botty scams. Good morning, Jen. That is Jen, right? Yep. Hello. Welcome, Shotek. I am working on the wash now for the bell tower. And as I have said, I had to sort of put this off because I did not want to have it do the same thing that the wash on the stone head ended up doing, which is that it ended up looking glossy and plastic and fake. So we're trying to avoid that today while simultaneously trying to get the wash in and do the detail work. Yeah, we're getting to the bell. We're getting to it. I like the giant head piece of terrain. That's part of why it was so disheartening for it to end up looking the way that it currently looks. The paint just went on too thick. So we're trying to mitigate that today. I'm using a smaller brush head than I used on that. Gives me a little bit more control. We're trying not to apply the wash as thickly, and we gave it a much more thorough shake and stir before we started, so perhaps the pigment is better suspended in the solution. But it could just be that this particular quick shade, this particular wash, is just a plasticky wash. It might just come out looking that way. So this side is where I started this morning. And you can see more detail in here now that I've gotten it on there. And it's not as shiny as it is on the stone head. I think it actually looks better here on the stone than it does on the wood. But it's definitely giving some definition to the model. I contrast that there with this on the back. It just looks completely different. It looks so much more detailed just from having that sort of dirty grime applied to it. Coffee. We're working our way up towards the bell and the skeletons. They're the piece of this that I most want to do, but also the piece that I least want to mess up. So I'm trying to get some practice with the wash on these less visible areas on the back and undersides and bottom, so that I've got my method figured out by the time I get to those areas that I want to have the most detail and to look coolest. I'm applying it quite thickly down here. And I think it is doing that plasticky, glossy thing. So I do have to be careful not to apply it that thickly on surfaces that I care about. I can just go a little faster on these areas because I don't care as much about them, because they're mostly obscured. Like, I'm not going to go in and do any highlighting back here. It doesn't need it. So I can go pretty thick back here. It's going to be so nice to finally be able to count this as done, do the final seal on it, bring it into the store and let folks actually play with it. It's getting there. It's definitely getting there. Working on this piece for the better part of 2 weeks now, I guess. Off and on between other pieces. So it's quite satisfying to be this close to done on it. because it's a wash, I don't like clean my brushes frequently, but I don't want the paint to get down in between the bristles in the brush head, because that can ruin a brush. And this may not be my favorite brush in the world, but I have gotten some good use out of it, and I'd like to continue to be able to use it. Just quickly applying some wash to areas that nobody's ever going to look at. I just don't want the model to look unfinished anywhere. So I think I'm probably going to do these steps last, just because it's a convenient handle for me to hold the model by as I'm working. Is very relaxing. I mean, yes, I am slightly nervous as I do this that I may be ruining all the work that I've done in the past 2 weeks on this model. I get preoccupied with I don't know, I don't want to say perfectionism, but with a particular look that I'm going for on the model, and I'm worried that after the experience I had with the stone head, I could end up with a similar issue with this model, and I want to be careful not to end up that way. So it's a little bit nerve-wracking, just because I have such ambitions, and I don't want the end result to be something other than I had pictured in my head. That is a little bit thicker than I wanted it there. I'm just going to wick it away with the brush a bit. Definitely all artistic endeavors, in my experience, for me, are a constant conflict between my vision and my capabilities, which is part of what this stream is all about, is trying to push myself to do new things and learn new skills and become better able to realize my visions going forward. Like, I have some really ambitious painting projects that I'd like to undertake, and I will definitely do on this stream. So all of this is just sort of the building blocks, working on learning how to do these things so that I can get to that state of being able to accomplish things that I have plans to do. This is working out all right. You will see. Very slightly frustrating that I won't actually know until the paint dries if I've got what I want. Like normally when I'm painting, I finish a surface and I can just look at it and say, yes, that's what I wanted, or no, I still need to work on that. But with this, I put the paint on, and then there's going to be a period of like, I don't know, did it work or didn't it? This looks pretty good though. Like here, you can see it's still a little glossy, but it's drying. I don't know. We will see what we see. Making progress, though. So chat, we have 1 week left in April, and I am 3 follows away from my April goal. So if there's anybody lurking out there who is enjoying what you're seeing and wants to help me meet my April goal, now is the time to pop a follow in. As we slowly wend our way to the end of this month of foolishness. Done the bottom on that side and that side. I've done the insides. Let's do this back side here. Working our way up the model towards the bell and the skeletons. We'll get there soonish. So let's do this inside piece here. So tomorrow is finishing Friday, and tomorrow I will go over a lot of this model to do highlights and weathering, and that'll move it a lot. I mean, that'll basically move it to finished. It just needs highlights and weathering, and then it will be effectively moved to the done column. I can do a final seal to it, and then it'll be ready to be played with at the store. see how long it is before these skeletons here get snapped off at the store. Put a little reinforcement on one of them, the one that already snapped off when I glued it back on. I added some reinforcement. We'll see if it was sufficient. Anticipate once this is in the store, it will probably come out to play on the tables fairly frequently. I'm pretty proud of the piece, and I feel like people will want to play with it. Just have to hope that it's strong enough to withstand the attention of a lot of play in the store. We'll see. Oh, you know what would be the worst? Would be if I went to drink for my coffee and drank this toner, this wash. I don't think I could easily make that mistake. It's got a very painty smell to it. I think if I brought it to my face, I'd be like, "Whoa, that's not tea. That's not coffee. Don't put that in your mouth." But in a moment of absent-mindedness, it could happen, I suppose. And boy, that would be unpleasant. Okay, that's all of the underside's done. Let's do this back side here. Trying to be a little more careful on these outside surfaces than I was on the underside and backside surfaces. Because these are going to get a lot more scrutiny, they're going to be more visible. So I just want to get enough wash to catch the edges and bring that detail out, but not so much that it's too thick, because I think that's what caused some of the issues with the headpiece. It was just too ding-dang thick. Like right there, too thick. Turn that down and then pull it back. And just wicking some of it away. still very much feel like I am learning how this wash applies. So, in general, when I'm painting, I've talked about this before, I'm manipulating the paint. You push it around the model. You're not just slapping it on. You're pushing the paint. And this wash, obviously, it being so thin, is easy to manipulate that way. And I have to figure out, like, when I brush on it, it leaves those brush strokes, but then because it's still so wet and thin, the brush strokes actually almost fade away. They disappear. So I don't have to worry about them as much. Like, I don't want to leave obvious brush strokes on the piece, but I can have some confidence that if there are brush strokes, they will fade. I just love the difference that the wash makes. Like, look at that there, and look at that there. It looks completely different and so much more interesting. To get into the grooves. And I can sort of wash it away on the surface areas. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Cool. Counterintuitive to brush across things like this, but I really do want to catch edges with the brush, because that's going to leave the wash on the edges like this. That's how it works. Again, it's trying to make the areas that the sculptor has already created come to life. There's sculpt. It's not really apparent until you get the wash in there. Got an awful lot on the brush there. Okay, that's fine. Bits and make them look loaded. That's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's coming together. It's doing what I want it to do. So the head, I did the wash in about an hour because I was going so quickly. And because I had other things to do that day. And I've been working on this piece for about an hour and a half now and haven't gotten to these higher areas yet. I feel like the fact that I'm going a little more slowly, being a little more careful in the application of the wash, a little less slapdash, is going to make a difference in how it looks ultimately. Hopefully. It will result in less fake plasticky feel to it. Almost up to the bell and the skeletons. We're getting closer. Wending our way up the model there. Good for a skeleton soon. Backside done. Let's do this platform. And then we'll start working on those skeletons and the bell. God, so close. So close. Chat. We're getting there. Before I attack the top half of the model, I'm going to give the paint a quick stir, make sure that it is still well blended and the pigment hasn't settled too much to the bottom. that. Look at how much detail there is there in this platform that you can't see until you do the wash. It's unbelievable. What a difference for such a simple thing to do. So I may do a bonus stream for just a short while later this afternoon to do these stairs. I don't want to do them now because I'm going to have to hold it here, and that is very, very wet right now, very sticky. I don't want to leave fingerprints on the model. So I may do a bonus stream just to do these stairs this afternoon. And it'll be ready for us to move on to finishing Friday. Oh, it's so exciting. Trying not to do this too thick, just thick enough is the trick. Enough to get those highlights, but not so much that I end up with that glossy plastic look. should look pretty good, I hope. We'll see. This is the area I started on here. Still a little tacky. But the model has a lot more personality now than it did when we started this morning. Cat hair happens. There, got it. Sounds windy out today. At least today we don't have thunderstorms. It was quite dramatic yesterday. Spring thunderstorms. Okay. Okay. Getting closer. I feel like I'm on the final stretch here. I'm just trying to not to let myself go too quickly, because again, we just need to be a little bit more meticulous than we were the last time we were doing a wash. Skeletons in that bell. And we'll see what we see with that. That is way too thick. That's some of that away. Okay. The other side. the inevitable, as 'twere. I'm sorry, folks. Suspended from. So this lightning ball motif here is definitely a Stormcast Eternal thing. Which I guess implies that these skeletons on this Warcry piece are Stormcast skeletons. Lobster, hello. So yeah, the wash on that piece, the stone head piece, still does not look great. It's fully dried now, but it's still kind of glossy and plastic. It just dried looking glossy. Which is why I'm being a little more meticulous as I put the wash on this piece. I'm trying to be less aggressive with the wash, trying to be a little more subtle with it. Like, we're still trying to get it into the cracks and crevices to make the model come to life, but we don't want huge gloppy areas that could potentially dry looking sort of fake and plasticky. So this is, it's looking pretty good. You can see there's some areas that are still shiny, but this is still wet. It could just be, this is the side that I started on, and you can see it's a little less shiny than this side. Could just be that this particular paint has a glossy finish, and that's just the way it's going to look. And I have to work to overcome that when I do the highlighting. But I'm trying to be a little more careful with this one. I tried to blend the paint more before I started working with it. So we gave it a significant amount of shaking and a more thorough stir. So maybe that will make a difference. And I'm trying not to go as heavy with this. I don't want it as thick on the model. We'll see if that makes a difference. When we get to tomorrow and start doing finishing touches on this piece. You are just in time, Lobster of Revenge. I am getting very, very close to doing the most sort of central pieces of this model, which I've left till last, which are the skeletons and the bell. We're almost there. I'm trying to do everything else first, just so I have as much practice with the wash as I can possibly get before I start working on the pieces that are sort of those areas of the model that are going to draw the eye the most. So you can see there, I applied some wash and it went on really, really thick. So that's where I need to be more careful. Sort of wick that back. Not done yet are this ladder, this top platform, skeletons and bell, and the front sides of these pillars here. So, see what I can get done today. I'm probably going to, as I said a little bit ago, do a bonus stream later this afternoon, maybe 3 p.m. Eastern. Today is my day off, which means I have a little more time to spend painting. All of it. I want to finish all the wash on this piece today so it has time to dry overnight, so that tomorrow, for finishing Friday, I can concentrate on last looks, touch-ups, and weathering, and highlights, and stuff like that, so that by the end of tomorrow's stream, this piece will be effectively done and ready to hit the table. It's almost there now. It's looking pretty good, I think. I think I have put this off long enough. It's time to do the skeletons. The bell. I'll do, like I said, a bonus stream where I just do the platform here on the top, and the ladder, and the stairs that I'm currently holding it by. Because I didn't want to paint those until everything else is dry, because I'm going to have to hold it by the rest of the model. It's very tacky and wet right now, so I don't want to hold it by the wet paint. I'll let it dry and then come back to it this afternoon and paint the areas that I've missed. But for right now, okay, let's do this bell. Let's do it. Here it comes. So, trying to be a little restrained, but we want to highlight these rivets around the top. This sort of edge here around the top of the bell. We want to bring out some of the details on this. Doesn't need to be super thick, but just enough to catch the edges. Bottom of the bell, there's these runes. You definitely want to catch the edges of those. Dry brush across those runes to make them pop a little bit more. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. Got the other side of that bell to do. And we've got skeletons. Next to the skeletons. wash. Some highlights. Which is why I left them for last, because I like to give myself that sort of sense of accomplishment. Yeah. So good. So satisfying. Try not to go too fast. Not to lay it on too thick. Just enough. Just enough to give the model that extra life. Not so much that I overdo it. Well, chat, it sounds like Amanda is home, so I'm going to do one more skeleton. Backside of this pillar. And then, like I said, I'll do a bonus stream at 3 p.m. Eastern. To get the rest of this model done with the wash, so that tomorrow, for Finishing Friday, I can do the finishing details on it. So, as always, thank you everybody who joined me. It's nice to have you here while I undertook this task that I will admit I was feeling fairly nervous about. Feel like it came out better this time than the last wash, so that's good. I learned some lessons. We worked on subtlety, and it's coming together. If you are not able to join me for my 3 p.m. today bonus stream, when I'll be finishing the skeletons and the other side of the bell here, I hope you will be able to join us on Battleground Games Live, twitch.tv/Battleground Games Live, tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, when Amanda and I will be playing a new expansion that we just got for Everdell, which is a very cute and very cool board game about making a city for woodland creatures. We've played a number of Everdell games on stream before. Today is just going to be a new expansion that we've never touched before, so that's going to be fun. And then, of course, Amanda will be live at 10 p.m. Eastern, continuing to read Will of the Empress, which is the next Tamara Pierce book that she's reading. So yeah, skeletons today at 3. I will see you folks then for that. in the meantime, I'm gonna go have some sort of lunch and say hi to Amanda. Hope that this dries better than the other piece. And I'm gonna say thank you ever so much, everybody who joined me. We made some excellent progress, and we're going to finish this piece. We're gonna get there. So, have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. Maybe I'll see you on some of our other streams today. In the meantime, be excellent to each other and enjoy whatever art it is you choose to do. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.